Hi.
Hello, Suzanna. How are you?
This is like our first official you and I like on a call and a meeting together.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It is. It's
I love
nice to
Zoom.
see your face like and have a conversation.
Yeah, because we've kind of been through a lot together, haven't we? Even though we've never really met or done anything together, we've been on the same journey.
Yep, trying to support those people in our country who are going through the same thing we are. Yeah, absolutely.
How are you feeling at the moment?
I feel pretty good. Good. In air quotes there, I've got a lot of stuff that's still up in bothering me, but the rituximab I feel like is helping me kind of a lot, which is a nice break from uh the debilitating fatigue. I feel like the rituximab is helping the debilitating fatigue, which is nice. How about you? How are you doing?
Pretty much similar. I have good days and I have not so good days. And I have okay days. So, on a good day, I can maybe get out of the house for an hour or so, and do something small, but I do pay for it the next day. On a bad day, I'm back in bed and you know what
Right.
it's like. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's part and parcel of it all, isn't it?
It is. I firmly believe our bodies are built to heal and they will in time. I think we have to support them with, some healthy habits and getting rid of some not so healthy habits, even if they're fun. But yeah, I gotta hang on to that hope. I know it's been for me 17 months. How many months has it been for you?
Yeah, about the same, about 18, 19 months. Yeah. So it's been a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've done so much in that time in your advocacy work. You're treasurer of React 19. You've done so many rallies. I've seen you at so many different rallies doing different speeches, and you formed Team Humanity, which is that it's one of those groups where I pop on every now and every time I pop on, there's always loads of like positive messaging and people being really kind to each other, and that's kind of what I wanted to chat to you about today was kindness and the topic of being kind to one another.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, right? I mean, I do think it just starts with kindness and yeah, I mean, in my mind, I was thinking it was gonna catch on faster than it maybe has caught on, but I still have hope for it too, for kindness to sort of take move into the space of where the political divide has been, move into people caring about people who are suffering rather than feeling like we have to turn a blind eye. So I don't know, fingers crossed for that too. You know, I go up and down on the roller coaster with that. I'm like, oh, look, people care, like people being kind to people. But then I realize it really starts with me and it starts with everybody internally, right? Like it's pretty hard to be kind to others if you're not at peace in your own soul or your own inner core. And what you focus on grows. Somebody said that to me early on, and I love that comment. It's like if you're gonna focus on kindness, you're gonna see it more. It's gonna grow, or you're gonna be able to like exude it more. So I just I just wish we could all sort of meet in the middle instead of hating each other on the outskirts of whatever our thinking is about anything, but in our case, about the vaccine and injury that it can do to people. I hate seeing when people say um, things like, "Oh, you wish you deserve to die because you took the shot." Like, I mean, people are already suffering, and I think when I see comments like that, I just think, well, that person must be suffering so big that they can't exude kindness. They're exuding what they're feeling inside. And I just, hope and pray for them that, and I'm not even that religious, but I now say God and the universe. Like, I think it's both. And, but I just hope for people who are so deep in their hate that they are hating other people that they don't know. And I feel like we're all kind of a victim to that for a long while. Like, we just we don't see a person, we see a mask, or we see a vaccine status, or in the United States we see red versus blue politics, and we see people who are for abortion, against abortion, for guns, against guns. It's like we all just want to find our little camp of people and stick together. And if you look at our vaccine injured group, we're from all walks of life. It didn't pick like, oh, only Democrats, oh, only Republicans, oh, only. So that's been super eye-opening, but also, yeah, some of it's positive and some of it's not so positive.
Do you think that seeing that kind of unkindness firsthand has actually made you a kinder person? Do you think it's made you more kind of tolerant and more, do you think it makes you evaluate how you say things and how you be and act yourself?
Absolutely. I think this whole experience has been so like jarring. Not only understanding kind of how the world works or how the government works in a way that I never would have believed, I guess, until it happened to me, until I was part of a more marginalized group. But individually too, I feel like I was more judgmental, and until this happened to me, I mean, in December 2020, our family took a trip. We're wearing the masks, we're wearing the shields, and we're like, shying away from people who aren't wearing masks. And now having had this happen to me, and not even, I feel like I'm still, looking for the truth and still diving in behind the headlines, because there's still so many camps and so many differing opinions. But now I don't feel like, oh, that person over there without a mask is a jerk. It's like, I think that person over there, I mean, obviously now masks aren't required to the same degree, but even if they were, it's like, that person's not trying to be a jerk. That person's not trying to kill people. That person's trying to like live their truth, what they believe is true. So I think I think it's given me way more compassion towards all humans in all walks of life, and to see people with a more loving heart, like with an understanding of we're all literally on this planet trying to do our best. I truly believe that. I do think there is like a small percentage of very, very greedy people who are making some policies that are really hurting humans because they are, wanting money and power. I believe there are a small percentage, but the rest of us on this planet are just, we're trying our best. And if we could only just like love each other a little bit more, I think we'd be in such a better state in our world. I don't know how to get there. What do you think? Like, how can we get more people to join Team Humanity in general? Like, what am I doing wrong? Or
yeah, I think people have got to be a little bit more tolerant of other people and actually take time to find out their story and why they want to take a vaccine, why they want to wear a mask, why they want to do certain things that may not agree with what you would like to do, because I think everyone has got a reason for their own opinions. And it's not until you understand those reasons that you can then empathise with them and then maybe have compassion for the way they feel. And I think that's what I've seen with in the vaccine injured community, is that some of the people that I've met are the most compassionate, empathetic, loving people you'll ever meet. And I don't know whether that's because they've been pushed into this situation, like you say, where they're marginalised and they've only had each other to fall back on and to comfort each other. And that's why they've become that way, or they were just like that before. And it just happened to have targeted this group of people that are just really compassionate and lovely. But it's a really interesting concept, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do think you're probably right that when people sort of, well, I think when you're experiencing something as impactful as what's happened to us with the loss of our health, and then not only the loss of our health suddenly, but this sort of being like thrown into the middle of just a political war and nightmare. Yeah, you do have a clarity. I like to say crisis brings clarity. And I think that's happened to me in other times in my life, but only when the crisis wasn't happening directly to me. And this is the first time it's kind of been more right in my lap. And, a year and a half later, I'm still dealing with it. And it's just the love, like trying to build love over fear, I think is hard, but possible. And I just wish more people could gravitate towards that. I really do think this was a pandemic of trauma created by fear. And I do believe, COVID's real and people were dying from COVID. And we know that it is virus that happened, and lots of people. So for us, our trauma is physical, but then for a lot of people, their trauma is, they lost a job, or they lost a loved one, or they could have lost many, many things, lost friendships or family members who thought differently than they did, or a business, if they had a small business that had to get shut down. So everyone's lost something, and with loss comes trauma. And, I think to climb out of trauma, it's not easy. You try to find your people though. And like, we're quote, lucky again, that we have this community of vaccine injured, and like the community that you have in the UK, and then those people who are supporting you in the UK along the journey, and who we have here in the US. And, I'm lucky to be on the React 19 board as well, in that community there. But then when you get in your communities, you don't listen maybe as clearly, like you were saying. You just said, like, listen a little deeper, right? Like, try to find out why that person doesn't want to wear their mask. There could be a whole variety of reasons. They could be allergic to the mask or whatever. I mean, there are many, many reasons. We have to look beyond the headlines and listen deeper.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that we've all learned, haven't we? Is that, what you're seeing and reading might not necessarily be the whole picture. And, there's other things, there's other stories to be told that affect people emotionally. And then you see this kind of divide happen, don't you? Because people become so emotionally invested and traumatized that they take it out on a whole group of other people that don't share their opinion on it. And then that's when you see the divide. And I think that's what we see, as people with vaccine injuries, is that we're just asking for help, right? We're just asking for adequate medical support, adequate emotional support, recognition, and financial support, hopefully. And we're not asking about the vaccines, we're not asking about COVID, we're not asking about masks, but somehow our injuries and our bodies get politicized and lumped into that, all in with all of that. And suddenly it's not just a health issue. Suddenly it's this great big wider debate. And I think when people start going down that tangent, they forget that we're actually just very sick people asking for help.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think when you listen more deeply to people, that's where almost everyone is at, whether or not they had a vaccine injury. But I think that's true. Like, people don't want to hear past the headline, and we have to hear each other. And really, we shouldn't be like attacking each other so much. We should be looking at policy, like the policies around these things, and like pointing the finger at those who stand to profit from things. Like, look at policy, look at who's making the money. It's not you or I. Like, we've been shelling out, we've been like burning through our savings accounts, right? Well, Pfizer's making more money, and Pfizer's paying royalties to certain people who are making decisions. Let's pay more attention to that and stop trying to take each other down. It doesn't make sense. And I hope people are realizing that. I don't know. Like, I try to have conversations with people that I meet on the streets. Do you do that? Like, tell them about your injury?
When I get out, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, people are kind of all over the place. I feel like the only thing that most people who believe, the full-on narrative that the vaccines are the only way out of this pandemic that seems to still be going in theory. I feel like the only thing that they can hear is when I use the spinach analogy, like, oh, we in the United States, we pull spinach off the shelves if 2 people die and 20 people get sick from like E. coli, like that happens. Or we have lemon laws for cars and you can get your money back, or there are recalls on children's toys. Like, manufacturing is not perfect, and there are going to be errors. And in the case of pharmaceuticals, that's also true. Both the manufacturing can cause errors that then can cause serious injury in people. I mean, Guillain-Barré is not a new thing. It's been around with the flu vaccine, right? And then there are also side effects too that people have, and that we know, like, everyone takes out the long, tiny little list, and you need your readers to see all the side effects. So like, people believe that, but I think they still want to point the finger at us and say, oh, Charlotte, there was something genetically wrong with you, like some underlying health condition that you didn't know about that's just like messed up with you. Or maybe there's not, and maybe it was a bad batch, or maybe this technology is not right and is causing more harm. So I think people gravitate towards what makes them feel most comfortable, and we are a big, fat, uncomfortable truth that people want to look away from.
I know we've talked a little bit about unkindness, but have you got any stories where you felt really loved and really, it's a real story of kindness and compassion in your journey?
I've had so many. I would love to hear yours too, but I'll just share a few. So here in Minnesota, there's a group, like we've started a Minnesota Team Humanity. I'm actually wearing my Minnesota Team Humanity shirt.
Yay.
Yeah,
oh, it's purple as well.
It's purple. And on the back, it says, like, I could maybe show you the back. It says like COVID, except that it's cold here in Minnesota. So I'm wearing my sweater, but I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? It says like,
yeah, got injured.
Yeah, exactly. So that we can connect with other people who might think they're alone. So like, this group of women, like, I just kind of randomly met them, and they have been like, they created these t-shirts for us, like paid for them out of their own pockets. They like have sent flowers to my home before when I'm not doing well, offered to bring over food, give me rides, different places. So that has been super inspiring. I mean, they're not injured, and they're just like, hey, something's wrong here. People are getting injured and no one's helping them. So I just love that we're growing Minnesota Team Humanity, because I see Team Humanity being like us, the injured, but then I see it being bigger, right? It being those people who support us, kind of like the Can We Talk About It campaign and the I Stand With You, or I Am Injured. And so that has been amazing. Yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out, strangers, say very, very kind things on my podcasts that I've done, like looking to help, wanting to see if I have a GoFundMe, which I don't, you know, I'm just saying send the money to React 19. I am burning through my savings, but like I'm okay still right now. And there are people too who we know we need to continue to help, and we're running out of funds there for React 19. So yeah, there are a lot of people who care deeply and see us in a way that, or even will listen more, and be a little more open after they know what's happened to me, instead of trying to blame it on me. Like Caroline said in the one video where she's like, yeah, if somebody has a miscarriage, you don't say, oh, well, I've got 3 healthy children over here. Like you wouldn't say that. It's not kind, and I don't think people are intentionally not being kind. I think they're literally afraid, and we're so uncomfortable. Tell me your kindness stories though. I'd love to hear.
I'm pretty much the same as you. Lots of little ones, you know, all the way from kind of meeting friends through the group. And one of my friends, she actually sent me a little angel last year, back when I was going through a really rough period. She sent me a little angel statue, and that was really nice, really cheered me up. I had another gift as well. Have you got the bracelet from Jan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a bracelet from Jan. And just little messages and things that people send me out of the blue. They're really, really nice, and they mean a lot, especially when you're maybe having a rough day, or, you know, you get those rough weeks sometimes and you think, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah,
I'm really tired of it. I'm really sick of it. And I can't feel my left foot because it's numb, and I've got a headache, and, you know, am I going to make it downstairs today because my legs feel a bit wobbly? And, you know, you get that little message or an email, and it's someone saying, you know, I just wanted to check in on you. How are you doing? How are you feeling? You know, is there anything I can do to help? And it doesn't have to be like someone giving you a load of money or some kind of massive gift, does it? It just has to be the right person at the right time, just sending you a little message to ask how you are, and it just means so much to people, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. No, I think you're so right. Just the checking in, I think, is huge, because I falsely thought in my brain that I was going to get better. Like every time. So I went on short-term disability. They're like, oh, we'll extend it 2 more months. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be fine in 2 more months. Like maybe, I don't know. That was my coping mechanism at the time. But now, a year and a half later, or 17, 18 months coming on, when somebody's in chronic pain, and we're officially, you know, outside acute and into chronic, people maybe stop reaching out again because it's sort of uncomfortable. It's like kind of the same. It's so up and down, like you said. Like
you can't make plans, can you? You can't make plans with friends. You can't say, you know, tomorrow I'll meet you for a coffee or something, because you just don't know if you're going to be well enough that day. So it's you end up letting people down quite a lot. So it's difficult to keep friendships.
But most of them, the good ones, realize that it's going to be an up and down, and they'll keep coming back to check on you. And it's not about them. It's about, you know, the physical things that you're dealing with. So I think it's huge. Just reaching out is so huge. That connection, and like the best gift you can give someone is the gift of your listening, your undivided attention, which we don't do very often anymore. We're so kind of caught up, and even as people are having dialogues, oh, like, what am I going to say next, right? As opposed to truly listening. And I just hope people can, I hope the pandemic just gives people clarity around caring about each other instead of dividing. I think some of us have gotten the message. I know I have loud and clear, but
yeah, I have. And it's, you know, the whole, like I said before, the whole situation has brought me into contact with some amazing people like yourself. you know, I remember watching you last year in Washington, and you took my board, didn't you? You took my, was it you? You
Yeah.
took
We
my
wrote
board.
out your board.
Yeah.
I think I sent it to, yeah, I had your
Yeah.
picture and then we wrote what you sent to me on, yeah, and carried your sign there on the
Yeah.
Supreme Court steps.
And
Yes.
I remember watching you and just thinking they're so brave, you know, because you weren't just speaking for people in the US, you were speaking for people around the world that were injured, and they were watching that, and it gave so many people so much hope. I don't know if you realised that at the time, but it did, and I know so many people were messaging me and sending me the clips for months afterwards. They still do. Every now and then I'll get someone say, have you seen these people in Washington last year? I'm like, yeah, I was watching it live.
Yeah, they're my friends now. Like now we all support each other, right? Yeah.
And that's the nicest thing I think that's come out of this, is that I've just you know, come into contact with some amazing people that have just done some amazing things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just giving each other hope, like something to hang on to, like you said, hope and community, right? Having a community of people, again, we're not all like-minded, right? We're all different people and we're not from all walks of life, but we're all suffering and we see each other and we know that suffering. If I can say, oh, yep, I got the cell phone feeling, and I do, going off in my right ankle right now. Like back in the beginning of this, when that cell phone was vibrating in my right ankle, and there isn't a cell phone there, as you know, like, and then, oh, now it's in my like left thigh. Like those feelings are so scary. You're like, what's going on? And then you go to the doctor and they're like, no, we don't see anything here. And then to get connected with people who can like help guide you and what to ask for in the doctor's office, I think is hope too. So number one, you're initially like, wow, this stuff is so weird. And unless there's something they can catch, like for me, I was, again, lucky. I keep saying lucky, like it's not lucky, but with the right people, just, you know, Paul saying like having autonomic nervous issues, this symptoms with my pupil was one thing that kind of just came out loud and clear right away. But like getting a skin punch biopsy for small fiber neuropathy takes forever. Like all of these things just take a while and you don't know what to ask for unless you're connected. So the community and hope, I think we got to keep sending hope somehow, Charlotte, somehow, some way, right? Even though we're tired, and we need to take care of ourselves first and foremost, because it's hard to be an advocate when you are down for the count yourself.